Today I'm going to talk about my own experiences. This is new for me. I like to give tech talks and show you some code, and that's got a right outcome and a wrong outcome, and the test passes. I'm also a technical writer. I'm a developer advocate, so I write a lot of code and a lot of words. I'm currently at Nexmo. We do telephony APIs. If you need to send messages, SMS, WhatsApp, Facebook, make phone calls. That's the end of the plug for them. But they did pay for me to be here, so that was cool. And I've been to the office and had some really good meetings, so yay. Cool, so I'm going to talk today really just about me and about my keyboard. I don't know how much you're going to learn about doing accessibility. I'm not an accessibility expert. I'm a disabled user. I acquired an RSI injury about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and I haven't been able to use any kind of pointing device since. And I've spent most of that time as a software engineer. I've been freelance, I've been employed, I've done the speaking circuit, I've written a few books. Like, I can hold down a job, providing I don't take my hands off the keyboard. So it means I have quite a lot of adaptations, and I wanted to bring that experience as a I mean, I'm not really disabled. There are some things I can't do, but you can't really see them because I don't do them. I can't hold an umbrella, I can't carry a coffee cup any distance. If you see me trying to get the lid off something, please help. But it's really not in your face at all. But I wanted to show my experience so you can see what I'm seeing, and there'll be a little bit of grumbling about stuff that goes wrong for me, particularly on the web. It's kind of the basis that I'm looking at. So, not an accessibility expert, just disabled. This is right up there with not a diversity expert, just a minority. People seem disappointed, and I'm sorry on both counts. So, hi, once upon a time, a long time ago, not that long ago, but when I first acquired this injury, I used to turn off JavaScript in my browser by default. We were just learning JavaScript on the web, so this would have been mid-2000s. And JavaScript was mostly used to make perfectly good unordered lists of links into hopelessly piled on top of each other things. And so it was off by default till about 5 years ago. Today, I don't have JavaScript disabled by default, but I do still have a plugin in my browser that enables me to turn things off, including JavaScript and including CSS, and it's usually CSS. Very often, if I've used my favourite search engine and I've seen some content on your page that I want to see, and then I load the page and I can't access it, scroll to it, whatever it is that you've done to your page, these one-page scrolling down with what is this? I will view source or I will turn off CSS in order to access just the content. I don't care what it looks like, I just want to read your content. So I still turn things off, even now. I think when we think about somebody who doesn't have a mouse, you think about tabbing through the input boxes or all the links, and someone mentioned this to me earlier. Do you just tab through everything on the page? Not now, no. People have all kinds of things in their headers. Half an hour later, I'd still be pressing tab. That's impractical. So for a long time, and you'll notice I've got past tense on this slide, for a long time I used a feature in Opera, which is spatial navigation. In Opera, not anymore, you could once. They rebased their code onto somebody else's code base. They just threw away their browser and started again, and it was sad. Anyway, previously, Opera, you could hold down Shift and press the arrow keys, and Opera would go in that direction and focus a thing. And when you pressed another arrow, it would take a good guess at which focusable element might be in that direction, given the view that you've got of the page. It was pretty good, and genuinely, I kept my job as a software engineer for about 5 years with that input. It was fantastic. I tried to find an example of that to show you, like maybe someone put an old video on, and I discovered that W3C are working on a new spatial navigation standard. Now this is fabulous news. So they've built this demo, so you can press the arrows and I can go from nav to content, back to nav, I can click on things, and that's charming, but you've got no idea what I just pressed. So I'd like to meet a tool called Screen Key, which is putting this black bar up here, too slow, and showing all of my key presses. And I've included it in these videos so you can see what I'm pressing to cause the thing that you are seeing, which might help. So here's that spatial nav demo again. It's mostly arrow keys, so I can go down, but crucially I can come from navigation into content, I can go from content back into navigation. Everything's amazing, just pressing the arrows, and I can click on something. It's an internal link, it jumps me down the page. I can move my whole page by using this tool. Spatial navigation is cool. I think we'll see it used more when you're using your Amazon Fire Stick or your set-top box. You've really only got up, down, left, right, and enter. So the fact that there is a standard, and we may in some cases want to build stuff that can be accessed by it, I think is great. Maybe somebody will put it back in a browser, or I'll be able to plug it into a plugin if it becomes a thing. That would be great. So spatial navigation was where I started, and I went quite some distance with that. Today I'm not using spatial navigation. I'm using a plugin called Vimium. Now the thing that I love the most about Vimium is it's not an accessibility tool. It is not intended to enable somebody with limitations. It's a productivity tool. It just has a side effect that it makes things available to me. That wasn't the intention. It is a really good productivity tool. I've converted lots of front-end people to whom I've complained about the Vimium behaviour. They install this and they never go back. It's intended to make your browser experience more like using Vim, which is a programmer's editor, which is used completely from the keyboard. I am also a Vim user, which you'd expect, because modern IDEs just get you trapped in sidebars all the time. I learned Vim, I've served the apprenticeship, and I'm basically locked in now. So Vimium, a plugin for Chrome and for Firefox. It's a bit newer for Firefox. I use it on, the videos are on Chrome. I use it on Firefox more now. It's mostly stable, just reload the page if things go wrong. What happens is you press the magic button and up come all these little yellow labels. And the little yellow labels have letters in them, and you can type the letters and access each of those things. If you're looking at something on a web page and you press the magic button and no little yellow label comes up on the thing you wanted to interact with, then you are not interacting with that thing. That's the end of the story. So here it is in action. I'm using my own website so I don't incriminate anyone else yet. We'll start nicely. So this is an ordinary WordPress site with basically no customizations. When I press F, that is the magic button, then labels arrive and I can click, you probably can't read the individual letters, but I can press D for blog, and when I press H, I can get in the search box. And this search box is amazing because when I press enter, it submits, and then search results appear in a new page where I can click on stuff. So it's Vim driven, right? So you can scroll down. Escape is a Vim tick. It's like, I don't need it here. In Vim, it just gets you out of insert mode, so you'll find Vim users tap it. There's lots of people nodding at me. You're hilarious. This is good. Okay. In the browser Vimium context, it unfocuses you out of wherever you are focused, which might be because I've left focus somewhere, or it might be because someone has helpfully focused a text box that I didn't choose, and it's now eating all my F key presses. That happens. So I can scroll down with J, and I can press some more scrolling down, and D to jump down a bit more of a page. I can also click on links. So let's open this blog post. Here's an individual blog post. Here's a piece of magic. This is life-changing for me. If I type / and start typing, I get a search for that thing, and it highlights it in the page. That's not the magic bit. The magic bit is it's actually selected as if I had got a mouse and clicked and dragged, because you know a keyboard shortcut to copy and to paste, but you don't know one for clicking and dragging to select the text that you want to copy and paste. So I can't do that, except now I can. Since I moved to Vimium, I can just select as much of that as I want to. In this case, I don't have to retype this class name from this code example into a window on a different desktop, the trick, if you have to do this, is speak it aloud and then try and hear it back while you're typing on the other screen. And I did a job like that for 8 years, 9 years, until I had this. Everything, error messages, class names, commands, code samples, all of it retyped, because I couldn't copy and paste. This isn't editable text. This is just flat displayed on a web page, rendered documentation text. I can select that. I can copy and paste. Vimium's changed my life enormously. And now it's on Firefox. Everything's amazing. Okay. I don't want to complain. I didn't come here just with bad news. It is absolutely possible to do this well, right? Anyone from GDS? It's a really good example, and what I've included here is the GDS example page where they show all their form elements. If you're doing this element, this is what you should do. This is the header text, this is the hint text, this is the default text. Here is how it should pop up. This is how it should behave when you do this, when you do that, on a touch screen with a screen reader. You can always tell on a GDS form which element is focused. You have no idea how unusual this is, right? You can always tell where your focus is. You can always focus everything. Like, it's also in quite a good tab order. That's the least of my worries. If I can focus it at all, I'm happy. Right, I'm a UK resident, I live here, I'm British, I have to deal with the government from time to time. If I go to do whatever it is I need to do, and I see a form that looks like this, I know that as a citizen, I'm going to be able to do whatever it is I came to do today without help. I used to have clerical help on a regular basis, particularly when I ran my own business, because of some stuff I just couldn't do. Accessibility tools have got better. My team are very forgiving and work around me sometimes. We reallocate the tasks to make allowances for the things that I can't do in my job. So I don't have regular clerical help. I have to just wait for a bystanding family member to assist me when the fields don't look like this. So I still need help with quite a lot of things, and it's bureaucratic things. So when things are going well, it's really easy, and you have to try hard to not do it right, okay? And there are some really good examples. So if you're looking for inspiration to improve your own build, this is the place to start. It's been good for me. Now the bad. I'm trying really hard not to rant too much today, so you'll notice there's nothing about the cookie pop-ups or modal windows. That is off limits because it's a 30-minute rant by itself. Basically, I can't close them. It's really common to not have a close button. Anyway, sliders. What is this? Even if I can focus your slider, I sure as hell cannot slide it. Like, how would that work? If you want data and you want it even from people like me, then how about radio buttons 1 to 5? Just saying. And what do you need that requires a slider? Just think about that, because it is non-standard and I can't use it. Date pickers. The date picker situation has got enormously better over the last couple of years. I do not swear until I have tried to interact with it now, whereas I used to be like, oh really? So the best ones allow me to type the date in the box, because I can type in boxes, that is great. The HTML5 date pickers and some of the newer JavaScript front-endy date pickers are also fine. They've been well tested, they work on lots of different devices. I can open the calendar, move around the calendar, click on a date, and then it folds itself up again, which often is the flaw in the plan, because I'm not clicking, it doesn't know, it should go away, and I can't fill in the form underneath, and now we are stuck. That happens often. Any other inputs that you have invented? In general, I'm really not that interested. So things that are not really common, are not part of the HTML5 standard, or are not, you haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about, probably rule out input from people like me. The least helpful thing for someone who only uses the keyboard is to add helper keyboard shortcuts. I am using my keyboard already. Those keyboard key presses are not going to get to your web page. I am using them, they are mine. Please do not add helper keyboard shortcuts. Typeform have earned themselves a special shout out here. This is a call for papers for an APIs conference, actually a series of conferences. I'm an APIs expert, I've written books on this, I blog about it, I speak about it, and I won't be able to speak at these events because I can't interact with this element of the form, or indeed any other elements of the form, because it's Typeform. Typeform is pervasive. So many perfectly responsible organisations use it. Their platform might be totally fine, and then they send me a Typeform for feedback on how the platform is. At work, we use it for ordering the free lunch in the office. Can't interact with it. And it's because you have to press a key. A for the top option, B for the second option. Would it have hurt you to have put checkboxes here? My tool is familiar with checkboxes. Screen readers are familiar with checkboxes. We all know what a checkbox is. The first time I saw it, I didn't realise I was supposed to press the button. And then only some of the buttons work because some of them are being used by my accessibility tool. So yeah, I emailed Typeform to offer them some feedback on the experiences that I've had. I know that I'm an edge case. I know that I'm going to come up against things that, just wouldn't come up under normal testing. And that's fine. And so I emailed them and offered them some feedback, and the response I got was, as the product and company continues to mature, I am sure we will get to tackling accessibility as soon as we can. I get this less often than I used to. Like, it's no longer seen as a real niche issue. And maybe they don't deserve to be called out for this, but maybe they do. It's something that I think it's important to keep offering the feedback, and some companies don't want to hear it, but a company like Typeform, where everybody just uses it, really trips me up way more than just if it was just one platform that I only had to use one thing, and maybe it had competitors, because when you email me a survey, I haven't got any choice.
How is Google Forms?
Google Forms is less bad,
okay.
Yeah. I think there are some custom inputs, but it doesn't make me go, oh no, Google Form, because your CFPs are Google Forms, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've spoken at your event, so they're obviously fine. I managed to make it through. Drop-downs get their own slide. The more features your drop-down box has, the less I like it. A lot of the problems are around what happens when you choose an option, because when I drop down a drop-down box, I focus the box, and usually space bar will unfold all the options, or down will just show me the next one, but I don't know what they all are. If on my way to the 7th option I press down and your page reloads, it's going to be a really long time, especially if it resets to a different place in the list. This is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly common, all the time.
So if you have to select the UK, how many times do you have to?
Yeah. When I open the box, just let me go up and down around in the box. If you need to make changes when I've made my selection, please wait until I've left the field. There's a thing called on blur. On change fires when you move between the options in the list. I'm working my way, I'm getting there. Right? Just wait. And then the on blur, my focus has moved on from that element. And now you can do whatever it was you were going to do. This is a killer, it happens all the time. I've seen all sorts of innovations around search boxes. Absolutely none of them are good. So, for example, I'm a relatively frequent traveller. I work in developer relations. Sometimes I go from here in London by Eurostar. Last time I gave this talk, I was going straight to FOSDEM in Brussels. So, okay, let's buy a ticket on Eurostar. Where are you? Well, I'm going from London and I'm going to Brussels. So what we got? Oh, look, okay, yeah, I'm focused. There's London. Can't get it. Arrows? No, can't get that one either. I can type. Maybe I'll just type in this box. I can't select that. It's showing me. I can't Because if you press escape and unfocus the box, it disappears. You can't get out of the box to click it. It's everywhere. I'm winning Employee of the Month award because this is a Nexmo site. This is our knowledge base. I work in DevRel. If you have a problem with any of our products using any of our tech stacks and I'm awake, then I am probably going to help you with that problem. Whether it comes in via Twitter, Slack, Stack Overflow, or if you manage to outwit the support department, but that is much less likely because they're incredible. If I type in this box, let's say I'm looking for some delivery receipt information, send an SMS, you find out it's been delivered, I get results, but when I try and get one of them, there's no focus. I don't really know, and pressing enter doesn't do anything. So I can't. Then I press escape to come out of the box, but now my results have gone away. So I still can't. There's probably a link in there, and I could probably focus it, except I can't get out the text box where I'm typing and start pressing the magic button to hop up the things instead. So when you ask me a question and I help you with it, what's actually happening is this. This is 10 lines of PHP running on Heroku because it's a Zendesk backend and Zendesk has an API. And this is beautiful. I can type in the box, I can press the submit button, and I can be presented with a list of links, each of which is clickable. And I can click any one of these links and reach the page I was interested in. Search boxes are a massive problem because often there's too many options for you to show a normal drop down and you need this search complete. I need to be able to submit that box and get a perfectly standard set of HTML element results to interact with. You do what you like with your nice drop down, but it's got to be an enhancement on fill in a form, submit form, show results. And remember that anything I can't see, the machines can't see either. The robots are also reading the internet, they can't access your data. So you need to be a bit careful with that. Okay. So now you're all despairing about the state of the internet. Sorry. What can we do? Not all of us are in control of every part of what our companies put on the web, but we all have influence in different ways, and I think a little bit of knowledge can go a long way to make a big difference. My top advice is to start from the standards. The W3C are there for a reason. The stuff that's in HTML5 is incredible. About 3 years ago, I suddenly started realising I was seeing video content on the web. Videos appear, I can focus a video, I can play a video, I can stop it from playing if I want to, and I can get my focus back out of that video onto something else without reloading the page. That's pretty much life-changing. Lots of things are only video, lots of things you really need to see the video, the sporting achievements, the sneezing panda, right? It's all part of our culture, and I couldn't see a video. If it did load, I couldn't interact with it. The standards make a huge difference because a lot of work goes in to making those things usable by everybody and predictable in really strange circumstances. There's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. This is hard going, I'll tell you that straight up. There isn't a tool that says, click this button and we'll give you marks out of 10. It's much more complicated than that. There are companies that will audit this for you. Chrome has a plugin called Lighthouse that will do some of it. It's probably a good starting point if you have no accessibility awareness. So there's a bunch of things here, but if you start from those standards, don't get tempted by the fun widgets in your JavaScript framework, front-end widget, whatever that is. Just think about what do we need to collect and how could we do it? How can we enhance it, but how can we help people who can't see that, can't click it? You know, it's not just me, it's also the screen reader. It's the person using switches. It's the person for whom the click targets are too small. your trendy tiny fonts are killing us. Right? All of those things are covered, and it's really important. I'd like to present you all with a challenge, and this will not take much of your time. It will take as long as it takes you to drink your cup of coffee. You have my permission to gulp it scolding, because this is a really annoying challenge, I'm sorry. I used to ask people to unplug their mouse, but of course none of you use a mouse now. Put a post-it note over your trackpad. And for the duration of the time it takes you to drink your cup of coffee or beverage of choice, see what you can get done. Live my world. Think about the adaptations and think about how that works. Warning, this is a productivity hack as well, like mildly addictive. You are going to do this every morning once you get into it. That's my challenge. See the world from my point of view and think about how somebody with a different perspective would interact with the things that you are doing. I have a massive list of resources, and I will tweet a link to these slides. But with that, I'll just thank you for your attention.
Do we do some quick questions?
Do you want to take questions now?
I think it's
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Which actual keyboard do you use?
I use a Cherry MX with red switches. Mm-hmm. I don't share an office. It is a little bit loud. Yeah.
That was a really, really good presentation. I just wanted, like, do you know like the scale of how many people also suffer similar disability or don't have access to mice?
I really don't. It's super unusual. I don't know that many other people. It's usually with some injuries. I know someone with a broken elbow who was in this phase for a while and is now a little bit more able-bodied and has adapted with more the iPad and pen. I also have some grip issues, so while I can still hold a pen, my Wacom tablet thing has a big clump of sugru on it. Like, I can write, but I have a library of children's chunky grabby pens. I don't know how long I can write for, but I'm not ready to part with it yet. So no, I don't know, but I think the overlap between this and a bunch of other weird adaptations it probably is quite large. And you know, there are people using the productivity tooling as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that the tab areas come close to what the accessibility, like the voiceover stuff, can see as well. So with precisely this, not very many, but affected by the same issues, quite a lot. Yeah.
Does your operating system give you any additional tools to, like, is it possible to click on an arbitrary part of the screen, or do apps give you a hard time as well as the web?
Yeah, so this really depends on your operating system. I'm a Linux user. My slides are made of Markdown that generates PDF because I can do that in Vim. I can tweet from the command line. I can read my mail on the command line. So only in the sense that everything's command driven. I had a Mac from a previous employer, which I hated with a passion, but because the control over the OS X platform is so great, they have much better accessibility hooks into all of their extra apps. So there's the voiceover stuff, which I don't really use, but there's a tool called Shortcat, which does a really similar thing to Vimium. So I use a PC with a touchscreen, which is great for I can't focus that or I can't unfocus that, both of which happen quite a lot. You can't get a Mac with a touchscreen because you have no choice over hardware. So Shortcat made that sort of tenable, for me. I will say we're changing our meeting solution at work, and I'm about to have to carry a Surface as well because we can't provide for what I need. So things happen. Yeah.
How is, like, there's this switch to more and more front-end apps? How is it affecting you? Because I've seen, what I've heard from people in the Drupal community is that so we're going all decoupled.
Yes.
And basically, practically, it means that everybody's making new front ends for everything. You must be seeing the effects of this stuff, or?
Yeah, it's really hit and miss with the rich front ends. A lot of it is genuinely fine. Okay. A lot of it is genuinely fine, where it's built from either basic HTML elements or with good JavaScript enhancement, it's good. Weird things happen because I scroll in jumps. Like, I don't scroll in scroll units, and a lot of things seem to expect that, so I get like half an animation on top of my text a lot. That's fine, I know where the view source button is. I'm really not that interested in your nice effect on the front end. I just came to read the content. So yeah, I use a readability plugin. I turn off the CSS. Those things happen a lot, and it is those kind of like experimental front ends. I hope those things will get better. One thing which is an enormous problem at the moment, is, and a lot of dev portals have this, is the I call them frames, and my designer says they are not frames. Incidentally, if it was genuinely a website made of frames, I have tooling for that. Frames are a standard. But where you have those fixed width and height divs with scroll bars, and like one's for your nav and one's for your, I can't, if I'm in one, I can't scroll the other one. And it's very normal that I can't expand or collapse the accordion sections at all. So I can't scroll the nav, and I can't expand. If you plug in Vimium and press the magic button, you'll be amazed what you can't click on your own sites. I just did some work with the WordPress have a new editor that I've been like not touching, and they know that I'm not touching it. So I did a screencast with them to see what it's like, and I was like, I gave them 2 thumbs up because they have all these toolbars down the right hand side, and I can expand and collapse any of them, and by collapsing them I can get to the bottom ones. So they've really thought that through. That's a real hazard, that those sections where you know there's like a pointy arrow and you can expand it, I usually can't.
Yeah.
And that includes some sites that I use often. Yeah.
Have you had any really positive experiences where you've emailed the site owner saying, this is annoying me, can you fix it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of places will fix it. Lean Pub have fixed a few things where I've been like, what happened? It's like I can't actually click on anything anymore. And it's always a new front-end JavaScript library that hasn't been tested for accessibility. They didn't choose it on the basis of accessibility, and then they go round and round and kind of stuff gets better. But usually it's a picture of a button with a script tag attached and something, and then it's got no tab index and I can't focus it. So yeah, that does happen. And so I do email, and I normally get, thanks for letting us know, and then nothing. Some people do fix it. Slack turned off their accessibility voluntarily about 2.5 years ago. They've reinstated some of it, and that's almost more annoying because there are some things that I can do. So I can do my job, but it's 20 key presses more for me than it is for you. So we have some things where it's not that I'm technically unable to do it, it's very painful for me, and it makes me look like a real fail at work because it's so difficult for me. We use the Atlassian suite as well as Slack, and those 2 things make me look pretty incompetent at work. So that's pretty hard when I don't, because I'm no longer freelance, so I don't get to choose tools. Yeah.
Is there any other way of like using the mouse without using a mouse, like using a keyboard to maneuver a mouse on the page, or eye tracking software maybe?
Haven't tried the eye tracking. I've tried all of the pointing devices. I own more pointing devices than any of you do. I have tried them all. For the most part, no, and most of what I do is in Vim anyway. If you look at what I'm running, you know, I've got 17 terminals and a web browser out in Slack open, and that's my typical day. So I use, where there's an IRC bridge, I'll use that, and I use IRC and stuff like that. So that's the best adaptation for me, is not to mess with anything else. The keyboard arrow stuff is just incredibly annoying. Maybe you get better with practice, but I haven't yet. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any recommendations for accessible dev portals?
No.
Yeah.
No, my favourite ones are inaccessible.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. I'm going to call out Mozilla.
Okay.
I don't have any problems with Dev Network. So they have, yes.
Yeah.
That one is okay.
So now you can go back to your manager and say,
I
hey,
tweeted it.
We've got this Dev Portal award.
I
we
tweeted
won it
I
last
just,
time.
And in defence of the manager, he did fix a horrible accessibility regression for me this week. So, yay. But yeah, that's a problem. Yes.
How do you feel about voice apps? Do you think they might help you maybe in some way? Obviously, you're a developer, so I understand.
Yeah, this is really good. So I can't code with voice app, obviously. Voice apps are something that I try intermittently. So I use an Android tablet, small Android tablet, for the things that I can't do on my laptop that are too annoying on my phone. And I know that I will someday only be able to use voice, and I feel like I should learn. I'm not going to have any choice, and I should try harder. It's slow and frustrating, and there isn't anything that I now do habitually with voice. I think the content dictation's got a little bit better. Sometimes I do like photo captions and stuff. It's no good at punctuation. I'm a writer, I care. So it gets words quite well, so I sometimes use it for prose, but you've got to go back and clean it up afterwards, so it's useful for notes but not for email, if that makes sense. Yeah. On really bad pain days, I just dictate into a text file, and that's the best I can do.